Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Anime Club.
Yes.
Your heart fiddly dee being a fun.
15 men and a dead man's chest.
Yo ho ho.
And a bottle of rum. I cannot do that. So obviously we were still talking about One Piece, and we're into free thoughts for One Piece. So anything we want to bring up, anything we wanted to discuss, all the things that were sent to me in question format over Messenger because people were confused.
Literal snail mail.
Okay, so what Nick Nack is talking about are Den Mushis. So One Piece has this way of communication that's kind of like cell phones. So they're called Den Mushis, and what they are they're these snails, and these snails are a type of animal that has the power. So they're born with the ability to like transmit radio waves between one another, and they can be trained to recognize the brain waves of another snail so that they communicate to a particular one. So basically training, and then the dials are attached to them with their consent. So it's a symbiotic relationship. The snails agree to be trained and raised by humans because they get food and safe shelter, and people usually don't destroy them.
I hope not.
It does happen sometimes. And then they basically work as like telephone calls, and there are like long distance Den Mushi and short distance Den Mushi, and there's even Den Mushis that have like fax, almost like a fax machine, can like print out stuff. And that's all done through these pieces of equipment that are attached to them. The snails themselves only have the radio wave transmission. So that's what the Den Mushis are in universe. I actually had to look this up to answer Nick Nack because I'd never cared.
It's honestly kind of cool how much detail there is like to this one little minor portion of this entire series.
Also, if you notice, the Den Mushis actually take on kind of the mannerisms. Like if someone trains a Den Mushi, they will take on the mannerisms of the person who trains them. Is that adage of like you and your pet kind of look the same? That's basically a Den Mushi if they're personalized.
Yeah.
If they're more generic, they don't do that, but the personalized ones do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is used by both Marines and and pirates, just kind of everyone in the universe.
And I'm sure there's like maybe some rich folk within the universe that also have personal Den Mushis.
Oh, a lot of pirates have personal Den Mushis,
Interesting.
and most higher ranking Marine captains do. They're not necessarily super hard to get. It's just you have to get them and train them. And so, if you're just like the Marine fodder, you're not going to get one. But if you're like a vice admiral or a captain, you might have one. Yeah. Pirate captains usually have them. I mean, Luffy's just an idiot, so he doesn't count.
He could probably use one, but
he just doesn't care. There's no one he's talking to. Like, he doesn't connect. A lot of the pirate captains that have them are like fleet captains, like pirates who have multiple ship fleets. Yeah. Like the Whitebeard pirate crew has them for like all the separate like ships and stuff.
Does Shanks actually have one?
Shanks has one, yeah. But that's mostly because the emperors actually communicate with one another because they're not allowed to be in the same part of the world at the same time.
Right.
So they have to communicate with one another, otherwise the world government will come and try to separate them.
Yeah.
So they do communicate with one another.
The cool thing about Den Mushis is since they don't all share the same telecommunication network and everything like that, so there's no interception you can do.
You actually can intercept Den Mushi.
I was gonna say that sounds like it's easily interceptable through a biological
actually,
signal.
Yeah, that's actually a big thing in universes. You can intercept Den Mushi signals.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And you probably can jam them, same as radio waves.
Yep. I mean, it's basically the principle of radio waves.
That is actually
except in a snail.
That is very interesting.
Yeah, so that's Den Mushis, a brief.
So then my point that I had messaged to you about earlier was Devil Fruit, because I really like this mechanic of the universe, honestly.
Yeah, so Devil Fruits are basically super OP. I mean, the level of power that you get from a Devil Fruit is directly connected to your creativity and willingness to train said Devil Fruit in a way that benefits what you do. So, like, if you get a really lame fruit, you can absolutely make it very powerful so long as you make the fruit work with you, as opposed to just having a weird fruit. You know what I mean? And Devil Fruits have a nerf. Yes. They are not all powerful. Devil Fruit users, when they get into the ocean, their limbs go dead, they cannot swim, and they do not float. So they just sink like a stone. And they'll drown, essentially. if no one pulls them out.
Yeah.
So there's a nerfing ability, which really makes pirates having devil fruit abilities, it makes it so that's a choice they made.
High risk, high reward.
Yeah, high risk, high reward.
Which is why the Buggy crew all thought Buggy was dead when he got launched into a random spot somewhere else.
Yeah, because if he fell into the ocean, he basically is as
And there's
good
no
as
way
dead.
for them to get him before he drowns.
Yeah. So
Just wondering, how does that not floating thing work again?
their bodies just don't float. It's because their bodies are changed by the devil fruit. Like, they're made of a different material or something, and so they just don't float. There's no fat on them anymore, you know?
Yeah. They just sink in the ocean like a rock, and they can't move anymore without outside assistance.
No, he can't. So the minute they touch seawater, their powers are negated. They cannot use their powers. So he couldn't stretch his neck to keep his head above the water.
They did do that.
He can do it if he does it before he hits the water, but once he's under the water, he cannot then...
He was completely submerged when they dragged his head out of the water.
Yes, but he didn't do that. They pulled him out.
Yes,
I'm saying that he himself cannot underwater make the decision to, like, shoot out his hand.
Yeah. The way they seem to describe it was that when he's underwater, he gets effectively just really, really tired.
Yeah, he's basically leaden. You know?
Yeah,
like when you say, like, your body goes lead and you just start sinking. Yeah. So while someone can grab his arm and it will stretch, he is not actively stretching
Just say that his nervous system goes haywire and it's just kaput. Good enough.
Well, it's not that. He's not even getting, like, sensory input overload or anything. Like, I mean, it's the equivalent of, like, falling into water when, like, coated in, like, a layer of cement. Like, you might be able to break it and, like, shift slightly, but you can't, like, actively swim or use your abilities.
So, like, I 100% forgive this as early figuring out how you're doing things kind of writing.
Mm-hmm.
But I do remember during the Luffy thing, I think we brought this up during that part as well, the flashback. He's, like, actually trying to struggle, so it's a little unclear as to what it was exactly doing at that point.
It could.
But that's just early writing.
I think that's just early episode thing, because that was back in episode, like, 1 or 2, like, in the flashback to when he was a kid. That was when that was.
It also could be a side effect of him having just consumed the devil fruit not that long ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is something that, like, has to develop after eating it for a while or something.
It's possible it's been explained as a side effect, but I just assume that's just a change in how he wanted to do it early on in the series.
And it was early enough that it doesn't really matter, because it only shows up in one flashback of Luffy. And then, so another part of this power system is it's not just the ocean. So you can mine this thing from the ocean called sea stone. And sea stone, it's a stone, and it can be used to make weapons or manacles or coat the bottom of ships, and it has the same powers on devil fruit users as the ocean. So, for example, sometimes Marines have sea stone weapons. Like a sea stone bullet, regular bullets don't hit Luffy, a sea stone bullet would, because it negates his powers where it touches him.
That said, I feel like for any devil fruit user, floaties would be a really, really good investment.
Right, but obviously they don't do that. Stupidity on their part.
Yeah.
But like I said, it is really a high risk, high reward. And outside of the ocean and sea stone, we don't get introduced to a counter for devil fruit abilities until much later in the series, but there is another counter that isn't ocean dependent. There is a lot of thought put into this power system, and it is completely feasible for any non-devil fruit user to be even more powerful than a devil fruit user. It's just based on your own creativity and ability to work with your body.
Just feels like the exact reverse of the Pirates of the Caribbean Davy Jones curse.
Yeah, where they can walk underwater and shit.
But they can't walk on land.
Yeah. So, you know, it's actually pretty interesting, the devil fruit abilities. I'm glad he thought it out, and, like, there is some, like, inbuilt nerfing so that they're not just, like, these super OP things that, like, that are impossible to counter. And
it's a very deliberate choice on the part of the pirate that actually decides to consume the devil fruit, aside from Luffy, of course.
Actually, Buggy 2 falls into this category we find in a flashback.
Yeah.
He did not intend to eat a devil fruit.
Yeah. Just so happened, and now he has to deal with the consequences.
Yeah, some people are forced into eating devil fruits. That's something that people do, like, in the slave system in the world. Sometimes they'll say, hey, I want to know what this devil fruit is, and force their slave to eat it. And then if it's a good power, they'll just kill the slave and collect the fruit afterwards. The fruits can't exist, and two fruits do not exist at the same time that are the same fruit. But when the user of fruit dies, their fruit is placed back into the world to be found.
Just wondering, can you actually have 2 powers same time, or like what?
No. Short answer, no. You cannot consume 2 devil fruits. You will die when you consume the second one.
So if you, oh, okay, so
Yeah.
it won't.
Short answer, if you try to consume a second devil fruit, you die.
Like
That's it. And devil fruit abilities do not pass genetically through the bloodline.
die how?
Like die. You are dead.
No, like is it overload of like power die?
No.
Is it
You
overload?
just drop dead.
Okay.
It's basically like a toxic reaction.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's basically a toxic reaction. You just drop dead where you're standing. Like you cannot eat 2 devil fruits.
It's kind of interesting. That'd be kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. I would have thought maybe like 1 devil fruit power like maybe overrides the other, but no, you just die.
Yeah. No. You just die.
Got it. Become a samurai in freaking One Piece and freaking just eat a devil fruit and become the overall conqueror of freaking my piece of that land.
Yeah, but then you get like some devil fruits that are like not optimized for certain things, like the Zoan fruits, which are animal fruits. So like you transform into a T-Rex or a bird, tyrannical overlording.
I'm calling it now. Luffy dies because he's a stupid glutton and eats a second devil fruit.
End of One Piece right there.
No.
The One Piece is just another devil fruit.
Oh boy, no.
The ultimate devil fruit. He's
No.
eaten one. Oh.
So another thing we talked about One Piece is, so sometimes we do this thing in these episodes where we recommend a similar series, but
I think we have a few things, but not many.
I think we have some things we could recommend, but pirate animes, guys, there are not a lot. And a vast majority of pirate animes, like in Japanese anime, are space pirates.
There's plenty of
like Cowboy
pirated
Bebop.
anime.
Huh?
There's plenty of pirated anime.
Yeah, there's plenty of pirated anime. But there, Oda kind of has a niche in the anime and manga market right now, is there aren't really any other long serializing or successful like pirate manga and anime that are like pirate, not space pirate.
I mean, just
Or
generally
intellectual
speaking, in the modern
pirates.
day, pirate media has not done as well as it used to.
Yeah.
No, and so I think it's really impressive that One Piece has managed to kind of be what it is for so long. And I mean, One Piece, it outsold Batman. Like overall, all of Batman, One Piece has now outsold.
Okay, Batman hasn't had good sales, and God knows how.
No,
long.
but like not outsold Batman for this year. Outsold every copy of Batman that has ever sold. Like One Piece has now topped the total Batman sales since Batman was created.
It's easy enough when you have ongoing sales, and the other one does not.
True.
Yeah.
It's also, it has like a 11-year streak as
Yeah.
the most sold anime, only topped by Demon Slayer in 2020, I think.
I think it was Demon Slayer did it 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
recently. I think Demon Slayer's been passing up One Piece this year as well.
Yeah.
Just because the movie came out, so there's been even more push towards it. with
Yeah,
the press
but One
coverage
Piece
that got.
still maintains second very firmly.
But overall copies sold One Piece is still much higher, obviously.
Yeah. It's also the longest continually serializing anime and manga. That has a single run. Stuff like Detective Conan has breaks and like
Yeah.
separate seasons and stuff, so that doesn't necessarily count in that. But I mean, you gotta admit, Oda was like, "There's no pirate anime." Bam.
Also-
That said, this is
Big
go
dick
ahead,
move.
Go ahead, Rob.
Okay. Also, can we talk about how Shonen Jump is actively screwing themselves over?
That is a separate video entirely.
That is something we
Shonen
need
Jump
to-
has fucked themselves over, and I am going to laugh watching them try to climb out of their shit pile.
That said, we do actually, speaking of shonen, it's not like you can't recommend stuff off One Piece
Oh,
based off shonen.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say if you like One Piece, you'll like Naruto and Bleach. I mean, they're very much in the same vein of like kind of an adventure story where there's an end goal and the main character's just like keeps powering up and meeting new friends and fighting new battles. Even Pokemon would kind of...
Pokemon does fit
Avatar.
that general idea of going to a new place, meeting new people, having an adventure there, and leaving.
Exactly. So there's a lot of shows that are similar in kind of story, but not in setting, obviously.
Now, Pokemon. Season 2 of Pokemon, the Orange Islands in setting is actually much closer than the rest of Pokemon. But no. Pokemon is actually a really good comparison, though, with the slightly, like every few arcs you bring in someone new kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah, because in One Piece you've got the crew coming in.
It's
you know?
definitely aimed towards a younger audience than One Piece, even though it's
Yeah.
bordering on Kotomomoke at times, if
Although-
not straight up Kotomomoke.
Yeah, although I will give props to One Piece. I mean, obviously I'm currently caught up with the manga and anime, and it does kind of age with the reader. Not in that the characters age simultaneously with the reader, because obviously only like 5 years have passed in universe since the start of the story, but the themes mature as the story goes on. Like Oda did a very good job of he created this expansive universe, and the themes get kind of more complex, involved, and darker as you go on in this universe. You know, like it's still a shonen, but there's definitely some really interesting things that happen as we move on. And he's also very good at never kind of forgetting anything. Like, characters that you saw in episode 1 will come back in episode 600. Like, that's just how he writes. And everything is fleshed out. And I really love it, because what Oda does when he fleshes things out is he has, in every book, there's these like little SBS Ask Oda, where they publish like 8 or 9 questions that fans have asked him, and he'll give answers, and they'll be like asking about some sort of mechanic, and he'll write out like the full answer, and that's the background of it in the world. And I think that's how the world has developed to be so detailed, is because Oda, when he answers these questions, legitimately thinks about how the system will work, and then gives the fans an answer that is now canon in the world. So he's able to easily flesh out parts of the world that we don't see by just answering fan questions.
Well, I guess moving on from anime, the next thing we can totally suggest as a good thing to do if you like watch or play, if you like One Piece, is Ice Age the Meltdown. No.
Oh god. Or any of the One Piece Pirate Warrior games.
More seriously here, if you like One Piece, your favorite Zelda game is probably the Wind Waker.
Yeah, I don't play Zelda, so I don't.
I mean, I can attest, I've played at least a good amount of Wind Waker, and I could say the sailing portion of it is definitely a fun part of it.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, One Piece is just an open world RPG where Luffy is your character.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here. The level of detail. But with that being said, I think we get to draw for who's picking the next anime.
Drum roll.
Watch it be me.
Drum roll.
My
it can
luck.
be.
It absolutely can. It absolutely
It
can.
absolutely can be this time. Okay, so, right, we have 24 names in the hat.
Oh, does random get picked?
Ah, it is Realm Shifter's turn next week.
Yes.
Ooh.
So what are you going to have us watch next week?
So, for what I'm going to be having us watch is going to be since we've changed this ruling slightly.
We made an addendum.
Yeah, we made an addendum. I'm going to be submitting the next 3 movies for Persona 3. Yeah.
So we'll be watching Persona 3, the movie 2, 3, and 4.
Yes.
Yeah.
Finishing up Persona 3.
Yes.
Yeah. We don't really have to do a preview for those. We kind of already watched the first movie.
Well, I guess we don't have to watch the trailers, but since we've seen the first movie, it might be a good idea to revisit like what our big criticisms were there and what would need to change a rating, or how it would have to.
Okay, well, I know what mine is. So my biggest problem in the first movie was it felt like a bunch of assembled cutscenes cut together into a movie that was specifically made for people who had played the game all the way through and just wanted to see a cinematic reveal of it. It didn't feel like there was any serious backgrounding or setting us into the world so that we could understand what was happening. It felt like the movie was catered to fans of the game exclusively.
Yes, I can absolutely attest to that. Like, after, like, because that was my main, like, thing when I wanted to show you guys this. I wanted to see if it really skipped out on some of the details, or if it maybe caught some of the ones, and I can clearly see that it skipped out on a lot of the details. And I also, personally, I felt like the animation really missed the mark for me.
Oh, God. Also, if I see another calendar marking the days
You're gonna
in
see that.
between
You're gonna
action
see that.
shots...
It's a trend. It's a trend. It's a trend across the Persona series.
That is the biggest fucking cop-out. Is just to put a calendar up on screen and then cross off a bunch of days and then say it's a different month. What a fucking cop-out.
It's because in the Persona series, the only time things ever happen is the end of the month, and you play through the entire month, so they skip over, like...
Yeah.
29 days of the main character going to school.
Yeah,
basically, because that's basically all the shit you're doing.
Yeah.
For
so
most
what
of the
about
game.
you, Vorn? What does Persona need to do to get to improve?
It needs to explain stuff. Like, there was the coffins that, like what were they about? And I did explain that.
I did.
But it has to explain it in the, like, movies. Because if you didn't explain to me, I would be like, what is this? What am I watching? Why? Sorry.
As I watch the audio hit straight red.
I mean, it hit red at several points. So.
Yeah, it does sometimes.
Yeah.
What about you, Knick Knack?
For me, my problem with the Persona movie was the direction of it. It was very much so, it felt like It felt like it felt like I was watching. So I don't want to say cutscene movie because I played the game. It doesn't necessarily feel like that. I've played a little bit of the game. It's more like we were jumping from one exposition scene to the next.
But
to
we
the
weren't
next.
actually getting the
And then when you
exposition.
get to the fight scenes, they don't bother to make the fight scenes have any real substance. It's just kind of the characters wailing on whatever it is for 2 or 3 minutes or so.
Yeah, and
So I think,
yeah.
I mean, collectively, that's what it has to do for all of us to improve. It needs to explain a little bit more and immerse us a little bit more.
yeah.
I mean, I can see how the game was really tailored to someone who had played. I can see how the movie was really tailored to people who had played the game, and I'm sure it's actually a pretty interesting version.
Yeah.
But it needs to break away from this movie is for people who have played the game and kind of come more towards this is a movie of Persona 3.
Yeah.
I think that's the end all be all of what it needs to do. Honestly, I don't think it would be hard for the next 3 movies to have a net improvement at the very least, because no matter what, we're going to be getting a little bit more explanation over the course of the next 3 movies.
If I remember correctly, we all gave it shit.
Yeah, Realm gave it a meh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I give it a meh. But it's still yeah.
Yeah.
But I'd say for me honestly, and this is mainly just like a general problem of it being like several movie films and they're only each about an hour and a half long or so, give or take like however many more minutes like the credits take. But this is basically condensing what is typically like a 60 to 80 hour RPG playthrough into like a 10-hour course of 4 films.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that in our original review because I'd looked it up, and somebody had actually made a comment on Amazon under the movie that like this is trying to condense 60 hours of gameplay into like a single set of movies, and it just doesn't work super well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But with that being said, we will see you next time after having watched all the rest of the Persona movies, with hopefully updated opinions.
Yeah.
Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Bye.
Try harder. Bye-bye.